Hey guys, we're back again with another Friday Bible study video. This is session 7. If you're new to this channel, I make a Bible study video every Friday. And the reason for that is just to help you and even me stay focused on the Word. Gives you an opportunity to study and meditate on the Word like God advises us to. On this Bible study video, I'm going to be addressing a topic that I have titled, This is Why God Has Not Blessed You Yet. Okay, that key word yet is important. Okay, because even though He may have not blessed you now, He can still bless you later. First, I'm going to tell you why I believe that God has not blessed you yet. And then later on in the video, I'll tell you what needs to happen for God to then bless you. Then ultimately, this is not like a formula, like if you do this, God will bless you or anything like that, because at the end of the day, God has the ultimate power. I want God to bless us, but it's still His choice. Okay, we can't force God to do anything. What I'm sharing today is just some of the key things that I've learned from my studies, and you can put it into practice, but still know that the ultimate decision to bless you comes from God. Okay, I think that's really important. All right, let's get into the 3 reasons why I believe that God has not blessed you yet. Number 1, He has not blessed you because you spend more on your personal enjoyments and spend irresponsibly on things that are worthless. Okay, let's just be honest. Okay, so you're thinking more about just yourself. How can you enjoy all these blessings just for yourself? I believe that's the first reason why God has not blessed you. And every reason that I'm going to list, I'm backing it up with stuff that I learned in the Word. My example comes from Luke chapter 12 from verse 18 and 19. So you can read the whole passage on your own later, but I'm just going to jump straight to 18 and 19. It's about the rich fool who made all this wealth and is like, I'm just going to tear down my barn and build a bigger one and store all my surplus in there and just take my time, relax, and enjoy. Okay, so in verse 18 it says, yeah, this is what I'll do. I will tear down my barns and build bigger ones, and there I will store my surplus grain. And I'll say to myself, you have plenty of grain laid up for many years. Take life easy, eat, drink, and be merry. Do you see the problem there? Okay, so this is someone who received blessings and he is thinking just for himself. And let me tell you something, God knows the heart. God knows what's going on in your mind. Like even when you haven't actually received all that wealth and blessings, He knows what you're going to do when that blessing comes. That's why He's still holding off. Okay, so you need to work on your heart and know that when that blessing comes, you're not trying to just enjoy it all for yourself. You're actually going to be ready to do more with it, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. So that's the first reason why I believe God has not blessed some people yet. For the second reason, He has not blessed you yet because you will hide the blessing and do nothing with it. Okay, this is a big one. Okay, my example comes from the parable of the talent. Okay, this is in Matthew chapter 25. If you go to verse 18, it first introduces the story where this man has given some talents to his servants. In verse 18, you hear that the person who got 1 talent, he went and dug a hole in the ground and hid his master's money. This can be found in Matthew 25, verse 18. And then if you go down a little bit more to verse 25, it says, so I was afraid and went out and hid your gold in the ground. See, here is what belongs to you. His master replied, you wicked, lazy servant. So you knew that I harvest where I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered. Well then, you should have put my money on deposit with the bankers. This is so important, okay? So that when I returned, I would have received it back with interest, okay? And then in verse 28, it says that he took the bag, the one bag that he gave him, he took it from him and gave it to the person who had more bags, okay? One of the main reasons why you have not received your blessing yet is because you have no plans to multiply it, okay? Whatever God gives you, you're trying to just keep it there. God is a God of multiplication. He's a God of creativity. Okay, just look at how he created the world from nothing. So if God blesses you with something, he wants you to do more with it. He wants you to multiply it. He wants you to be creative, use your mind, and find ways to multiply what he has given you. So maybe he has not blessed you because right now you're not exercising your creative mind. You don't have any plan to multiply what he is going to give you. You're just going to keep whatever he gives you, and that's it. Okay, so that's the second reason. Now, the third reason why I believe God has not blessed some people yet is because he thinks that some of you might use the blessing to carry out revenge on people who did you wrong. Okay, he thinks you might use that blessing to hurt people. Okay, and again, remember, God knows the heart. He knows what you're thinking in your heart. He knows what you might do. So maybe you don't have the right intention for that wealth, for that blessing that you want. Okay, a good example can be found in the story of Joseph in Genesis chapter 45. Okay, remember the story of Joseph? His brothers sold him into slavery to Egypt. Long story short, he ended up being a big man in Egypt. In fact, he controlled everything. He controlled the wealth, essentially, of Egypt. And later on, his brothers were starving, okay, because there was a famine. And guess what? Joseph did not beat them up, throw them in jail, sell them to slavery. Instead, he actually helped them gain a lot of wealth. He used his position to actually bless those who hurt him. Are you willing to do that? So that's another reason why I believe God has not blessed some people yet. Are you going to use it to bless people who have hurt you in the past? Are you willing to do that? Or are you going to use it to actually punish those who hurt you in the past? Now let's talk about why God wants to bless some of you. I have two reasons for you, and they kind of go hand in hand, to be honest. The first reason is that God wants to bless you if you can multiply his wealth. Remember, I said his. God supplies you with the blessings, with the wealth, and he wants you to multiply it. Then the second reason is God wants to bless you if you are going to be generous with that wealth, meaning you're not going to keep it to yourself like the rich fool that we read about earlier. You're actually going to be generous and give away a lot of those blessings that you're receiving. We're going to read 2 Corinthians chapter 9 and from verse 10 to 11. These two verses pretty much summarize, in my opinion, why God wants to bless you. Let's read it together now. He who supplies seed to the sower and bread for food will also supply and increase your store of seed and will enlarge the harvest of your righteousness. Okay, you can pause it and read that again right now because it's easy to miss some of the key details in that verse. In verse 11, you will be enriched in every way so that you can be generous on every occasion. And through us, your generosity will result in thanksgiving to God. These two verses right here tell you everything about God's heart and God's intention. And in verse 10, it says that God supplies seed to the sower. So someone has to actually be willing to sow. Okay, someone has to be willing to sow, because when you sow, that means you're trying to multiply the seed, right? To grow more with it. Okay, so I told you that one of the reasons why God wants to bless someone is because you're going to multiply that blessing. Okay, if God sees that you are creative and you have the mind to multiply the small things that he's given you, he's going to give you more. He's going to give you more. And that's what this verse is saying. in verse 10, it says there, he will increase your store of seed. You have to be creative, whether that means learning new skills, practicing a new art, something that can help you learn how to multiply the blessings that God wants to give you. Okay, so that way you're not like the guy from the parable of the talent that I read earlier, who receives his talents and just hides it, digs the ground and just keeps it there. It doesn't grow, it doesn't multiply. Okay, so that's one of the main things. If you are ready to multiply the blessing that God wants to give you, he will provide more of it. The Bible, it literally says it right here in the word. Okay, it literally says it. And then the second reason is that God will bless you if you are going to be generous with it. Okay, you're not going to just want to keep it to yourself and enjoy life and all that stuff. And you're not even thinking about people who are in need. You're not thinking about, how to actually use that to bless those who need money, those who are poor. So it says right here in verse 11 that you will be enriched in every way so that you can be generous on every occasion. Guys, it's literally not a mystery. God wants to bless you so that you can be generous. It's not so that you can just spend money extravagantly on just yourself. You have to understand this. Your priority should be to be generous. Okay, and why should you be generous? Because it will result in thanksgiving to God. So ultimately, God wants that thanksgiving to come back to him. Okay, that praise, that glory to come back to him. So if he blesses you and you bless other people, the glory will come back to him. You bless people who need that blessing, it will come back to God. Okay, that's thanksgiving. Because sometimes if you just like focus on your own personal enjoyment and just treating yourself, just thinking about you only, you can honestly start losing focus on thanking God. The deeper someone's need is, the deeper the thanksgiving of that person will be. So if you give your blessings to those who need it and you're generous, that's more thanksgiving that's going to go to God. I've given you the key things here. Now let's just talk about some clarification, okay? And this is important here. I want to clarify that God is not saying that if you are a believer and you're his child, that you should be like poor and you should live on just bare minimum and not like take care of yourself, right? Yes, you should go on vacations, you should buy yourself some stuff, but it's all about the heart. How much are you thinking about others versus yourself? Are you always thinking about others, or are you always thinking about yourself? That's what God is looking at when it comes to who's going to get the blessing or not. Extremely critical piece here. All right. So God wants to bless you, but you got to be ready to multiply that seed and be generous to people who need it. Okay. 2 application questions for you. Are you planning to be generous with the blessings that God is wanting to give you? You got to be honest with yourself. Do you think about yourself more than others? Number 2, have you built the skills that will help you to be able to multiply the blessings when it comes? When that blessing comes, can you multiply that blessing? The more you multiply it, the more resources and blessings there are in to do God's work. That's it. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed this Bible study video. If you did, please share with someone else and please come back again next Friday. Okay, we're going to make this a thing every Friday, God willing. And please subscribe if you want to be part of what I'm doing here, and I'll see you next Friday.